Someone broke into my house last night and stole my Limbo trophy. How low can you go? Welcome back, YouTube. It's an AlphaStar replay cast. This is the first one I'm doing coming back from Blizzcon, and I have some things to talk about regarding AlphaStar and Blizzcon, if you guys didn't see some of the cool stuff and displays they put on. But before that, let's do the intros. To the top left, we have the red Terran AlphaStar! And their opponent to the bottom right, names scrubbed and removed from the replays. We have the blue Terran Master Player. Now to explain this really quick, for those who are unfamiliar, Deepmind, the people behind AlphaStar, recently released all the replays. I'll probably link the info for that down below in the info section, but the one thing they did was they removed all chat and they removed and edited the names, so it just says Master Player because he's playing a Master Player or whatever. We know that chat's been removed because AlphaStar usually types good luck, have fun, and GG's, but through the couple of casts we've already done, none of that is to be found. So continue on. We will see how things go. Now, regarding BlizzCon stuff, well, first off, obviously this is a TvT, and it's going to be kind of cool because we know AlphaStar is going to mess up their building placement at some point. Whether it's the Grandmaster, Master, Diamond level of AlphaStar, all versions of Terran can't seem to get their buildings together as Terran. But BlizzCon had some cool stuff about AlphaStar. They actually set up an arcade area where they allowed people to challenge AlphaStar, and they put out the different versions of AlphaStar, the Diamond level 1, the Master level 1, the Grandmaster level 1. And you had some kind of lower league people attempt to play it, seeing how hard it could be, and everybody pretty much lost. Cyril, who famously is one of our most viewed AlphaStar casts here on YouTube, he actually gave it a shot. He lost 3 games to the Protoss, 1-1 versus the Terran. And I think for him it was interesting because it was probably a very, very good challenge. Nothing about race or balance or anything like that. AlphaStar is just what is possibly a really good training partner when you think about it. It was cool, and I gotta imagine for these pros, to some degree, it's a lot better to practice against an AI like AlphaStar because you don't have to worry about revealing your builds, right? The worst thing you want to do is, you've got some big TVZ coming up for some huge tournament. You don't want to show other people that build, but you have to practice it one way or the other. So you have 2 options. One, rely on a practice partner who you trust not to share your replays or give information out, and then also maybe in the future, possibly AlphaStar. And I think that while a lot of you watching this are kind of looking like, oh, I can't wait to see AlphaStar beat all the humans, I look at it as a way to make the humans even better, which I think is really cool, and I hope that's how things progress, but the future, of course, of AlphaStar is entirely up to Deepmind. And from that point, who knows? I don't have contact with them. The guys there, of course, were at BlizzCon. I got to see them from a distance, but didn't actually go up and talk to them. I was busy watching WCS and being a nerd with my friends. Side note, too, if you guys didn't see, I'm probably going to insert it here just for the sake of doing it. There's a really big community meetup we had at BlizzCon. It was cool to see so many faces show up, both pros and fans alike. It was really good times, and we kind of last minute organized it, and I expected like 4 people to show up, but a lot more obviously were there, and it's pretty cool to see. So shout out to the Starcraft community at large, whether you guys are watching on YouTube or Twitch or wherever. But TvT from both sides looks pretty much the same, actually. This is so eerie. I'm just so used to AlphaStar having some very obvious tells and giveaways. Like for this, for example, not a lot of people would keep this in their main. They would do exactly what Master Player was doing previous, lining it up on the ramp because you want to catch the attacking units. But pulling back, it's got a Cyclone with it. Any kind of minor harassment coming out of Master Player won't likely get anything done with all of these units alive and well. The command center is quite a bit far behind for AlphaStar, but one thing we know about AlphaStar, above all else, is she's quite good at macro. Seriously, it's horrible watching AlphaStar take really bad trades in these games, but still maintain maximum supply and really good economy. It is infuriating knowing that players can't seem to pull that off, as well as the machine. But regardless, going back to the point here, this is a Masters level of AlphaStar versus a Masters level player, so this isn't like, oh my god, Super Saiyan machine. It is one of the middle point ones. As far as the date in which this was played out, unfortunately, I don't have that information. I know some people have really liked that, but more on that in a moment. Small scuffle here. Decent trade. Tank on the high ground's obviously key. Seems lost, they're not too devastating. But the command center is finally up for AlphaStar. And we've seen a lot of AlphaStars mid-game, really good with tanks, mentioned before, really good with macro. Things like this are pretty obvious because we've seen it out of a lot of its Terran games, but one thing is for sure, it follows the standard. If you guys recall, there was that one particular mass Raven game which threw everyone for a loop. And actually, a side note there, at BlizzCon, one of the most notorious weird players of all time, Florencio, took on AlphaStar and kicked his butt because he did, like, I believe it was a proxy nexus. There's a lot to explain if you don't know who Florencio is watching this video. Just look up the Florencio files. Pigs cast a lot of them. It will explain it better than I could. But the point is, weird builds seem to definitely throw a wrench in AlphaStar's plans, right? So AlphaStar expects a Terran player to do typical mass Viking. So it will also go mass Viking, or tanks, or what have you. Which, again, if you circumvent that by doing anything else, gets weird and maybe doesn't know how to respond. But this Banshee, you know, the first one did a lot of damage, second one's coming in, hitting just as hard. You know, there's a Raven already out, it's just about being in the wrong position and not prepared. So that's going to be like, I believe 7 SCVs killed? 8, excuse me, that was close. But 8 SCVs. Now, the interference matrix is a good way to stop the Banshee from doing too much more. It can't decloak, it's going to run out of energy, all that good stuff. And yeah, with the Cyclone, it's handled this no problem. But a distraction was still caused, and now Hellions and Reapers are looking to poke the front. Luckily, our human player does have an army out here, but that's still going to be some more dead SCVs. Even a mule going down with that. Of course, that mule wasn't that big of a deal, but still, that hurts. For a Terran player who's had a somewhat passive opening, key difference here is he's lost a lot of SCVs. That's going to really dig into the economy. Now, unfortunately, because these are replays coming from Deepmind and coming from the ladder, they don't have the WCS extension. I can't show you guys the income graphs, but if you pay attention down here, you can see one number is significantly better than the other number. However, Master's player here wants to even that up, doesn't want to just take a bunch of losses, and goes for a counterattack. And I like this quite a bit with 3 Ravens. This is really powerful. Yeah, there's a couple of siege tanks up, but interference matrix will make the world of difference if those land off. So with about 3 Ravens to work with, it is possible AlphaStar nullifies 2 of them, but that still guarantees 1 gets in, and as long as the human player takes care of the tanks, this attack could still go off. But all of this, of course, is easier said than done. There's a lot of hypothetical, and AlphaStar's really, really secure here with their defense. Bunker, tanks, you name it. But a slow siege up and a slow encroachment. We have Banshee speed coming out of AlphaStar, which I find wonderful because this feels like such an innovation move, not an AlphaStar move. Back on the other side of the map, though, there are some Vikings, just sadly no detection. Ooh. Fight at the front still going on, while the Vikings do a bunch of damage there in the back. Cleans up the Banshee, I believe. Just double checking that. Yep, took a scan, but stopped the SCV count from going too high. Remember, it was 11 before, now it's 14. And I guess this is kind of that calm withdrawal. Losing a tank up at the front line is going to suck. But it keeps the, he rather keeps the Ravens alive. Well, actually, I don't know if Master's player is the he. We'll assume. My bad if it's someone else and you're the owner of this game. You're watching this on YouTube later. But the point is, with 3 Ravens still standing, this is a very, very powerful advantage over AlphaStar. AlphaStar has been investing a lot in Banshees, has several Vikings, which will help zone out said Ravens, but at the end of the day, 3 Ravens, even if they die, but cast all of their abilities before doing so, are going to be incredibly advantageous. A large part of that is not just the interference matrix, which straight up removes units from the game temporarily, but also anti-armor missiles and other such things. But we'll see how this plays out. It does look like this is a typical TvT, though, minus the Banshee portion of this, with a lot of Vikings in play. And I love TvT. The way this evolves out, you know, once upon a time, is just Marine tank, right? Nothing else. But nowadays, we have Vikings because they're the ultimate weird counter to Marine tank, question mark. By controlling the sky, you control the rest of the game. Oftentimes, there's no way to really get through those bigger tank counts, and Liberators later on will be how you do that. So you can't go straight to your dessert, you gotta eat dinner first, and you have to get the Vikings to get that sky control before you can even think about the swaps. So for both sides of this, currently the Viking count 8 to 8. We're gonna see little dips as one player produces one more than the other type thing, but again, this goes back to the Ravens. Interference matrix is part of it, but anti-armor missile on Vikings is gonna guarantee the other player a huge Viking win. As you can see here, there are some Liberators starting up from our blue Terran. This is gonna be specifically to help deal with the siege tanks. Meanwhile, AlphaStar is taking a 3rd base, transferring over now. I guess every step of the game has been just a little bit behind in terms of like expansions, but economically speaking was doing better for quite some time due to the worker lead. But now transferring over, we'll see AlphaStar not just catch up, but probably overtake once again. Missile turrets on the front line. This is kind of a cool move, actually. Kudos to AlphaStar for thinking of this. Going back to, once again, just the air control here is really hard to control. And if you lose the battle even slightly, it keeps these tanks vulnerable. But with a missile turret here, now there's a huge limitation of where this Liberator can go. It can no longer just waltz up, set up, and push all the tanks back without any repercussion. I mean, obviously the frontline tanks, yes, but the turret zones it out, and that's what I think is so cool about this. A little bit tough with the Cyclone. Interference Matrix to cancel that out. There's a clever move out of our human. But while this goes on, lots of Vikings are hitting the main base. And oh my god, is AlphaStar going to land these? Oh my god, AlphaStar's going to land the Vikings. Big attack of the main base. Auto turret to the mineralized Vikings on everything else. Any sort of siege tanks that come into play are going to be able to just destroyed by the fact that these do 20 bonus damage versus mechanical. Marines are going to be the best way to deal with this. But the other part of it too is it's not committed. Hit and run. Lift up. Go to the skies. Try and take out the Ravens on their way out. Oh, this was a really good way to force that army back. But unfortunately, in doing so, doesn't really protect the siege tanks any better. But little leapfrogs here, plus a scan. AlphaStar actually starts winning some of this tank fight. Banshee, in the meantime, whoa! When did she get 6 kills sneaking in there while all this chaos was happening? Vikings trading out not too poorly either, considering it was an outnumbered game. But AlphaStar loses 11, 12 Vikings, takes out 6, but also a Raven. It's really hard to say who I think got the better end of that engagement, but I think it's AlphaStar. And the reason I say this is not because of the battle. I think the battle definitely favored Blue Terran, but AlphaStar took down more workers, right? But also maintains a very strong economic lead back at home. And this goes back to what I said very early in this cast. AlphaStar's strengths really rely in its macro. And that's just evident here if you watch. Look, it's almost double the income. It's crazy. And now mules are dropping too. Extra production starting up. Oh, another Banshee gonna... Well, I guess, you know what? Interference Matrix can't stop the Hyperflight rotors. And this, oh my god, I never actually considered. This is actually a brilliant move out of AlphaStar. Kind of just assuming it would never really have the air control to deal with that, but would continue harassing with Banshees. And, well, Ravens can lock them out of the fight, but neither the Vikings nor the Raven have the speed to catch said Banshee. They move so freaking fast! 5.25, by the way, for those who need some context, is about the same speed as an Oracle. It's so quick. Now, this fight in the middle of the map goes horrible for AlphaStar, and as much as I'm praising the economy of our AI overlord here, it still needs an army to fight with. Behind it upgrades a little bit too. No armor upgrades going in for the bio, which I find really fascinating considering how valuable that upgrade really is in this matchup. It doesn't help versus tanks, but it's all the difference for a Marine versus Marine battle. There's some Marauders mixed in, which I find weird too, by the way. Marauders are just generally not units you're going to want to waste money on when you know your opponent has a ton of tanks. But Masters players sieging up in a pretty big way. Obviously, air control has been lost at this point. Vikings, not enough to protect the Ravens. And that Raven, you know, went from 1 dead to now all dead. Tanks gonna be slowly pushed off here. Command Center's not in danger of dying yet. I'm starting to doubt the attack here. This was a really cool power move, and I like going across the field immediately for Masters player, but unless they put more pressure on this command center, this was a pointless endeavor. So now moving in with the Marauders, now moving in with the Marines, that's the move to make. Forces the SCVs off, and the command center lifts. It's also forcing the tanks to reposition a little bit, which, as you just saw, got sniped off. So, denying a base in a big, big way, and maybe not killing a lot of SCVs, but taking AlphaStar down a peg. Unfortunately for our Masters player, AlphaStar's already making up for this by creating a brand new command center down to the south side of the map. Huge upgrade leads for our human as well. Again, 2-2 makes it's a huge deal. The upgrades for weapons, obviously, I don't need to explain further, but the armor upgrades are interesting, and this is where I'm really curious about AlphaStar's reasoning. If it was like a human, I'd love to interview it, but armor upgrades will be a little pointless if you're worried about big tank shots, right? There's no point in upgrading. I totally get that. Tank's gonna blow you away one way or the other. But so many of these fights are gonna be Marine versus Marine to some degree, or Marauder to Marine, apparently, in this game. So the armor upgrades are really, really valuable in that regard. Another big Viking hit squad lands to the natural base. And it's a take no prisoners game. This command center, oh my god, it's mechanical, of course, is getting destroyed here. The Vikings are just targeting everything and anything to get their hands on. Lift up the command center, no problem. They jump up to the sky to give chase. Oh my god, the natural base destroyed. While this goes on, our human players started to fight down towards the third base of AlphaStar. This is a planetary fortress. There are a lot of Marines dying on both sides of the equation, but I think, funny enough, this one Banshee is going to be king. or a queen, I suppose, as all Banshees are. But still, this is going to push back the tanks. Without those tanks, there's no way to push into the planetary fortress because Marines do not beat a planetary fortress, plain and simple. So this one Banshee is removing 3 or 4 of the tanks. Of course, AlphaStar has completely distracted our human player because their attention to that battle was over here to the natural, trying to push this off, trying to complete the command center to replace the one they just lost. So much just happened in the last 30 seconds, opposed to like the first 15 minutes of this game. But as big waves happen, again, going back to AlphaStar's strengths, lots of bases, lots of workers still standing, has not had to lift the main up and move that over yet. So unfortunately for our Masters player, well, they've had really good army fights up to this point. They're not going to be able to take this very long, I feel. Like, to me, I look at it, stuck on 3 bases with the main pretty much mined out. This says like 20 minutes, 30 minutes maximum that they could survive off this because they just wanted the money to keep up going forward. This is another good base kill though, a little bit of tit for tat, so finally a bit of payback. But again, AlphaStar already set up another base way down to the south. That upgrade advantage too at some point is going to fall off. But what I find really fascinating is AlphaStar is really devoted itself to the sky to the point where I'm like, this really feels like AlphaStar studied specifically like Gumiho and innovation for its replay analysis or something, because it's fine. I guess Special too, a little bit, shout out to him, he's done these too, but you know, again, no emphasis on the bio at all, no emphasis on making tanks do more damage. It's all been about the air through these speedy Banshees, which, credit where it's due, is controlling it really well. Alright, main base being lifted over for a 4th, absolutely necessary at this point. As we said before, there is a kind of time limit, and the reason I give that time limit is because minerals are going to mine out, and at some point you just lose to attrition. So you need these extra bases, but oh no! The SCV transfer caught by the Banshees! And I'm going to show the workers' loss, but I'm pretty positive this number is going to be really big. Yeah, high, right there, 50, across the wall, 51 now, but these Banshees have been wrecking. And to be honest, actually, how many Banshees have died this game prior to these 3 here? About 10 or so? When you consider there's 10 Banshees, which have done the majority of the 50 workers killed, granted Vikings got in there too, that is really worth the investment. But another command center is going to die down here to the south, realizing not having the tank count to take this on. Masters player has to evacuate, but evacuates a little too slow, and more SCVs die. And that number 50 grows to 69! Oh my god, this is ridiculous. Resources lost now, pretty much close to evened up, but AlphaStar again dominating this with a rally across the map. Our blue Terran players now supply blocked, and there's just no defensive fight. A base trade might be the only thing in store. So we have a huge cluster of Marines and tanks, well, mostly Marines, not very many tanks, starting to move across the field. But the worst part about losing these extra bases is not just the economy, there's actually not going to be scans at some point, and when that comes into play, there's no way to deal with a Banshee. One single Banshee would rule them all. Thor's desperately trying to pump out of the main. The huge supply block impacting any chance to build reinforcements. This base is trying to be hidden, so running to the top side. As I said, though, a base trade's the best interest here for our blue Terran, so dives on into the main base, looking to jump on top of the production of AlphaStar. And you know, AlphaStar's macro might be good, but if it loses all its production facilities, none of that matters. And as stands, Master Player has a pretty good standing army. Not wanting to walk into siege tanks, but when you consider most of it's on the ground, and I'd say a third of AlphaStar's army's in the air, this actually is a pretty good fight still to come, as long as there's not more units behind it. So jumping on top of the production, forcing out a base trade like this was the best move our blue Terran could have made in this particular scenario, and I absolutely applaud them for it. Also, these funny missile turrets that are placed out, helping stop the floating buildings from getting too out of hand. AlphaStar trying to put down some more command centers, I guess, replacing the corner bases. Oh my god, buildings floating all over the place. Planetary fortress under siege from these tanks. Still, the bottom left is looking pretty secure, but it goes back to AlphaStar could have 3,000 minerals. It wouldn't matter if they can't build anything other than SCVs with it. So, for now, good job, Blue Terran. This game is still, despite the supply, I would say anyone's game. You could walk tanks unsieged into the Marines and mess up really badly because of the upgrade difference. You could accidentally leave your Banshees uncloaked in the wrong spot, wrong time. I actually truly see a way where Blue Terran could pull out a victory here, but in every way possible, make no mistake, this favors AlphaStar. Oh man, look at that stim. Marines are already on red. There's hardly any medevacs in play to heal them up. That's actually a really big fear I now have for Blue Terran. I hadn't considered this till just now, but You know, they can't build SCVs. They can't build more supply depots to get on supply block. And, oh, scans are so necessary. This is why it was so mission critical to keep this orbital command center alive. Now, all the Banshees have been removed from play. Scans are not nearly as mission critical. In fact, actually, yo, as long as our blue Terran doesn't take a fight within the siege tanks, they'll win this battle every single time. AlphaStar, by the way, has continued to expand, but hasn't built more production facilities, which really has me worried. Now some starports are starting up, sure, but the clock's ticking on this one. If Masters player gets a chance to start building supply depots, unsupply block themselves, they could be back in this game. AlphaStar didn't take the time. Oh my god. This is such an AlphaStar moment. All the siege tanks were left down here. AlphaStar, why you no break your siege tanks with the fight? This could have been an easy battle, but our blue Terran player collapses on top of this, and now AlphaStar is the one behind his supply. Oh my god. How many? I can't. Oh, this is 9 siege tanks. 9 bloody siege tanks. Vikings up here get shredded. This really puts our blue Terran back in the game. I gotta stress though, and again, I'm not trying to be too hyperbolic with this. AlphaStar, with its production, with its income, still favors this game, in my opinion. But with mistakes like this, and a reliance upon air units, I don't know. I really don't know. I've cast a lot of games in Starcraft 2, and up to the last few minutes, I've been able to say, like, yeah, that looks normal. I've seen players do this. I've seen base traits that go awry. But I'm not seeing something quite like this. We have, of course, a planetary helping guard that choke, but, you know, Masters player is just going to run right around it. Most of the production's up here, but... Oh my god, hold the phone. This whole game, AlphaStar didn't even have combat shields. I didn't even notice till just now because the emphasis has been on the sky. There is no universe, there's no world where AlphaStar is ever going to win an infantry fight. AlphaStar absolutely, without question, must rely upon mech units at this point. And the way it's built is going to choke in a lot of these units and make it very difficult to get out and reinforce with. You know, in the natural course of a TvT, you just assume everyone has combat shields, but that's not how this played out. This command center's in some trouble, so forces it to lift off. Tanks being used down there from the bottom right. This orbital command, or excuse me, planetary fortress under fire, but no way to actually deal with this right now because the damage to break through the SCV's repairing is not there. And if the Marines walk into it, then they're going to die to the planetary itself. Marauder being baited in, I'm not sure how or why. I guess as it runs around the map, or he runs around the map, chasing AlphaStar. This is just so awkward. Of course, you know, on the run makes sense. You're distracted. This is a hectic situation for anyone. Stress being the #1 thing in this game. Oh my god, the Widow Mine! The Widow Mine's gonna take out. Oh my god, can the Widow Mine hit the medevac? Does it even need to? I don't think so. Banshees push that off. Planetary Fortress then here finally dies, but at the cost of a few more of these very precious bio units. Command center is floating, so it can't land to scan to see the Banshees. Oh my god. Oh my god, what is going on right now? Scan's going down, trying to see what's happening. Sees the Banshees, takes them out of the sky, but there's a lot of siege tanks that Masters player cannot contest, not with the current standing army. Way too low on health. Nice pickup on that single siege tank, but oh my god, guys, Banshees raining down on this building. Taps out. GG, ladies and gentlemen. AlphaStar wins that game, but what? Alright folks, if you want to see more AlphaStar games, if you want to see more AlphaStar casts, hit me up. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and comment down below. See you on the next one.